Hey guys, it's Rush G here. How are you all doing? Welcome back to the channel. In this particular video today, we're looking at how to punish firewalls in neutral using Ken's DPs and CA. There's quite a bit to know about this topic, so I'll talk about it in more detail. Okay guys, so this particular tech that I'm showing you today, it revolves for Ken specifically. This tech can be used for other characters as well. It's not specific to Ken, but using Ken as the example for the majority of you guys, he has three tools to blow up fireballs at close range. He has Heavy Punch DP, he has EX DP, and he has CA. Now, what is important with this tech is it's not a read, it's a reaction, but you need to know, it's two things you need to master. First, you need to understand what you're looking for. So what are you trying to blow up? You know, which fireball, what range, and then you have to consider your option. Are you going to use Heavy Punch DP, EX DP, or CA? I'll talk about the pros and cons of each of those three options as we progress through the video. If your inputs are not quick enough, and if you don't know what you're looking for to counter with the anti-fireball sort of option, then you will not succeed. You need to be able to recognize the startup frames of the fireball animation. The input has to be quick and crisp when you need it for this to work. Talking about Ken's options, he has three options he can use to blow up fireball: Heavy Punch DP, EX DP, and CA. Heavy Punch DP has invincibility frames. I don't think it's from frame 1, I think it's from frame 3 onwards. And because of that, because the invincibility frames, it's projectile specific as well. Because the invincible frames are a little bit down the line, rather than from frame 1, they're from frame 3 onwards. I don't actually have the frame data to hand, but it's quite a large window from frame 3 onwards. And that's why Heavy Punch DP is very good at blowing up fireballs. Also, it has longer reach compared to EX DP. It does actually travel. If I go here, look at where I land there. EX DP I think goes the same range, but look at the initial hop. So it goes further, but the initial hop is smaller. And that's important because it means that Ken will not be able to travel through the fireball, if that makes sense. But I'll show you that a bit later on. The other option, CA. It has, I believe it has less invincible frames than Heavy Punch DP, but the frames start from frame 1 onwards. But what's good about CA is, once you get the hit, it goes into an animation, and the animation doesn't care about what's on screen. So if that fireball's still on screen, if Ken CA hits on the first hit, it goes into the automated animation. So Street Fighter 5 is not bothered about what's happened on screen, it takes you into the sequence. That's why I use CA against armoured moves, because CA will go through the armour because it activates the animation. The only way CA doesn't work, this is not relevant to this video, is they parry it. If they parry, it stops the animation from kicking in, but armour does not stop it either, which is really cool. But going back to the fireball example, the CA is good because it will go through the fireball with the invincible frames, it will connect with the opponent, and then the animation will take over and you'll get the rest of the hits. Speaking about EX DP, it has invincibility frames from 1 onwards. That's full invincible, not projectile. But because he doesn't hop forward very far, you can sometimes be left in the hitbox of the fireball, if that makes sense. So even though you've gone through the fireball, your invincible frames will run out and you'll get hit by the fireball, stopping the second rep of the EX DP, if that makes sense. Let's show you that now. Let's do Heavy Punch DP first. Heavy Punch DP is really good, but the risk here is if you get one hit at range, sometimes you don't get a knockdown. So you clip the opponent, you set them on fire, but you get up in the air and the opponent's still standing, so they get a free crush counter. It's also tough to do this against faster fireballs as well. Ken's going to do neutral jump into light fireball, and I'm just looking for the startup frames of the fireball. See, like there, I think that's exactly what I just said. I think the active frames of the fireball hit me as my heavy punch DP invincibility frames ran out. So I think I might have to be a bit closer. It's interesting. Maybe it's because it is the slow fireball. That wasn't really a reaction, that was, I kind of read that. Try again. Okay, so that's, I think that's a better range for this. I think I'm doing it too early. You see that? If I only hit him once, if I didn't get a knockdown there, I got crush countered. But that's generally how I see it work. I don't like using it in the Showtime match, if I'm completely honest. It's too risky because of the range. And the best way to do this, I find, practically inputting this, is you have to do a walk. If you walk forward a little at first, watch this. If you walk forward during the startup animation of the fireball, it makes the input much easier because you just need to do quarter circle forward into heavy punch then. Try it again. I did a walk forward. It's from crouching. It's not very easy. I don't think that's that easy. I think it's much easier to do forward, quarter circle forward, like that. Now, something I will tell you is slow moving fireballs. So we spoke about slow moving fireballs earlier, but very slow moving fireballs. So we're talking. Trying to think of some examples here. Nash's fireball, the slow one. I think Sakura's fireball, the slow one. I'm trying to think of more examples. Bison's fireball. I think it's the EX, isn't it? It's very slow. Any slow, Cody's as well. So any slow moving fireball. The key against those types of fireballs are you have to DP them during the startup frames. Once that fireball is active and it's out there, your heavy punch DP will lose majority of the times because of what you saw earlier on when I was doing this example. You will do the DP, you'll get a hit, but your projectile invincible frames will end, but the fireball's still on screen and it will hit you before Ken goes up into the air. Ken does not have enough projectile invincible frames on the heavy punch DP to deal with slow fireballs. That's where CA comes in, but we'll talk about that a little later on. Again, we'll do some practical examples at the end. So let's look at EXDP now. I'm actually not sure how this will work, but again, the problem with EXDP is, yeah, it does have invincible frames from the very start, but you have the same problem where if the fireball's quite slow, you'll get hit once the invincible frames run out. The one good thing about the EXDP is it's like it has like a vacuum effect. It sucks the opponents in. You get the first hits and the fireball is not on screen, so we're talking about the start of a fireball. Examples there would be Laura's, I think it's called Clap, isn't it? The slow moving fireball. So Laura's fireball, and for example Guile's V skill 1. The idea there is you don't want to go through the active frames of the fireball, you want to beat the startup of the fireball. So let's look at this now in this example. Okay, that's pretty nice actually, that's quite nice. Interesting. I think you need to be a bit closer. You can't be as far away as... Yeah, so if you're too far away, that's probably going to happen every time. I think this is much better for close range, which to be fair, this kind of range I don't feel comfortable with using this tech. Because again, the faster fireball, the EX fireball, it's a bit of a risk. But again, that range you can see, it's not quite as effective. And that's because the invincible frames are running. The invincible frames are running out, and you're not connecting with the opponent. It's not a far range option. It's a close range option. What I will say is, in V-Trigger 1, the EXDP becomes so much better. It's unbelievable. It has so much range now. It's so much stronger for this kind of approach. And it looks like it has more invincibility as well, which is pretty mad. Look at that. Oh man, that's actually really powerful. I quite like that. Look at the range rate as well. And so far away from getting the hits. And the reason for that is because the EXDP, the first hop, travels further forward. That's really good. I didn't actually know that myself. Oh, sorry, yeah. So the last option, CA. Now, the reason why CA is so good here is because of the range. It has really good. You can probably reach it from here, I reckon. Oh yeah, without a doubt, that'll work. I think even further out. No, so that looks like the limit. Now, the reason this is good is because, again, the range is absolutely insane. And if you look at Ken, the default costume Ken, his hurt box extends during that fireball throw. So I'm catching the extended hurt box there, but not only that, so his hurt box extending, but also because of the range I'm standing at here, I have more time to react to the fireball. If I'm this close, I've got even less time to react to the fireball, because obviously he throws the fireball, his hurt box extends, so he moves his body forwards. If I try and input CA, what's going to happen? I'm going to walk into the fireball. This range, if I input CA, obviously you will move forward a slight amount, but you've got more than enough time to do the input and get the hit at range. You can't really do that close range, and this is why I say with the heavy punch DP option and the EXDP option, it is good if you've got it down, but many times I see people do it. So example Kens that I see use that tech would be Yus and Ice Cold Fist. They do it very well, but I don't see them do it consistently enough for me to think that's a good option, and you've got to be extremely ready for it, especially against Shotos. Other characters it's much better against, so again, like I said, Laura, Guile V-Skill 2, which I'll talk about and show you in a second. Those options are much better, because at this range, when they do the V-Skill 1, Guile V-Skill 1, at this range, when they do the V-Skill 1, or when Laura does her fireball, it doesn't really move that fast, and the startup frames are quite long, so you can react to it this range and just do the heavy punch DP straight away. So guys, hopefully those examples just there have given you a better insight into the options available for Ken and understanding which matchups to potentially use them in and which not to. You need to understand the projectile type you're challenging. You don't expect, just because it works against Ken, that the heavy punch DP and the EX DP is going to work against the whole cast. As many people I could see on stream complain about things not working, but have you tested it out in the lab? Don't assume things work during the set. Lab it up, understand, and then use that tech in the matchups. Don't expect things to work just because you feel like they should work. Interesting point. If you're struggling with all that stuff, if you really find it difficult to blow up the fireballs using that method, which I understand it's not easy, this is more advanced level tech, then you have another option, VT2. So VT2, I know I'm very bad at this, I don't need you guys to tell me I'm awful, but it is built to be an anti-fireball V-trigger. 2 button presses, jobs are good, as they say. Again, you've got to lab up just the inputs, you've got to get used to the input, you've got to get used to the muscle memory, but that's a great way to blow up fireballs as well. So you don't have to go heavy punch DP, EX DP and CA, and trust me, I know V-Trigger 2 is not an anti-air, and that's not the way it was designed. It was designed to be a way to blow up fireballs. So it's a very, very good tool to use in that regards. And I'm not going to cover it in this video, but V-Trigger 2 and EXDP and CA can both be used where characters are doing normals into fireballs. So if the two standout characters for me are Gil and Akuma, if Gil and Akuma do a normal and cancel into fireball, that gap between the cancel and then the starter frames the fireball, you can interrupt with the EXDP option, the CA option, or just pressing V-Trigger 2. You can react as well. It's not that difficult to do with practice, you just got to practice it. So don't overlook V-Trigger 2, and we can look at the fireball, the cancels into fireball in a completely separate video. It's also very useful tech. It's important against Akuma, I found it really useful against Gil, and I found also with Nash, and when I played the first 10 against Kara, I found myself reacting to it, specifically it was heavy punch into regular boom. I could see the gap and I was mentally prepared to do the EXDP, and that practice came from the Akuma practice of him doing stand medium kick into red fireball. It's quite easy to recognise the gap against Nash, so it just came naturally to me. But again, we'll talk about that in another video. Guys, hope that's helped. Any questions, any queries, as always, just give me a shout and I'll catch you in a future video. Take care.